Thank you for tuning in to Love in Your Hands with Cynthia Clark, the podcast about how to live life with love, passion, and purpose. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find long-lasting love through the merging of ancient science, modern technology, and quantum physics. Tired of superficial connections? Go to loveinyourhands.com and start your free Align to Your Soulmate 5-day challenge, where you could win a $20 Amazon gift card. Now here's your host, Cynthia Clark, certified palm reading consultant, love compatibility coach, author, and speaker. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I am always excited to bring you topics that are exciting and help you live life with love, passion, and purpose. And we are going to start out today's episode with how to read confidence in the hands. And then I'm going to bring in our very special guest today. So confidence does show up in a section of your hands that we call the Mars mount. Okay, so you can identify how much Mars energy do you have in your hands by how puffy is your Mars mount. Okay, so it's located just above your thumb in this little kind of pillowy area just above the thumb. Okay, and it's going to be on both hands. So when you relax the hand and you kind of tilt it sideways, okay, and you look at it like that, bend the fingers in just a little bit, you can see these little puffy areas in your various parts of your hand. So this part over here, just above the thumb, that's your Mars mount. And it's going to show you, if it's puffy, that you have confidence and persevering energy, okay? And if it's kind of flat, or if it's indented, then that would show a lack of confidence, and it needs to be built up a little bit, which of course these things in your hands actually do change. So that's the good news, is if you're lacking in confidence, you can start to boost it up. So hopefully we'll learn a little bit about that today. So anyway, that's your palm reading lesson for today, and that's your Mars mount. So everybody take a look at your Mars mount and see kind of what's going on there, and it'll be fun. Okay, so happy to introduce today's guest. We have Karen Solomon. She is the author of Sexy, Sassy, and Starting Over. She teaches keys to confidence from the bedroom to the boardroom and inspires her clients to create their lives congruent with their deepest needs and desires. Her communication style is bold, edgy, and inspires both men and women to be their authentic, unadulterated selves. Ooh, this sounds so juicy. I love this. She integrates a foundation as a credentialed teacher with over 2 decades providing image makeovers and relationship coaching for men and women. Karen's passion, insight, and genuine desire to serve, combined with being direct, compassionate, and relatable, leaves audiences and listeners laughing and loving themselves. So she is just so exciting. I can't wait to hear all about her spunky personality. So thank you, Karen, for coming on the show. We so appreciate you.
It is so good to be here. And spunky was a new one.
Yeah, spunky. That was what I'm getting from you.
You know, the book is called Sexy, Sassy, and Starting Over. So let's just say I like alliteration. So spunky goes right in there.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into doing what it is that you do.
You know, I always start out with telling people that I have always been a teacher. Since I was about 3 and learned how to tie my shoes and thought that's in the days, by the way, I'm of the age, there was no Velcro invented yet, you young people. And so when I was 3 and learned how to tie my shoes, I thought it would be a helpful thing for my 1-year-old sister to learn. And it was very frustrating when she couldn't learn it yet because she was 1. But the truth was, it just made sense my entire life. When I learned cool stuff, to be able to then share that information. I know you do that with your palmistries. I'm clear that that's what you do. It's like, oh my God, this makes sense. I'm going to show people and help people. So that's always been my foundation. And I did indeed become a credentialed teacher in my my jobs. My dad was a pediatrician. I worked in his office on Saturdays. I always babysat. I ran swimming programs for day camps. As I said, I was a credentialed teacher, taught elementary and middle school. And then fast forward to, I moved to the Bay Area after kind of left teaching career in my 20s. I'm not very good at working for people. I'm not real. Am I proud of that? Not particularly. It's just the truth. I'm just not an employee type. So I moved to the Bay Area from New England in my mid-20s and tried to figure out what to do. And then one day I found myself selling computers, didn't like that much, but I dated a guy for about a minute that I sold computers to. And he was a director of an international company of the whole Western region, this and that. We became really good friends. As I said, dated for a minute, but then really good friends. He was super handsome, kind of prematurely gray, 40-year-old Italian-American, green eyes. And I said to him one day, you have to let me take you shopping. I mean, you have to let me take you shopping because you're handsome and you just need me to take you shopping. So I took him, he said, next paycheck. So next paycheck we spent, I remember it was back in 1986. So I said over 2 decades, it's over 3, but don't want to date myself too much. But anyway.
Well, you look young and beautiful.
I feel fabulous and I'm wise. Let's just say I've earned my wisdom. But
I like to say we're ageless, right?
We're ageless, yes. And may we keep our immune systems really strong.
Yes.
So anyway, so this gentleman and I took him shopping next paycheck and sent him back east. This was in Northern California. Sent him back east on a business trip to see family. He came back from that. And by the way, I think it's like 1 in 12 men or 12% of men, which is like 1 in 8, something like that. Either one of those stats are colorblind. He said to me, you have to come back to my place and tell me what goes with what. I've been ridiculed my whole life. So I find myself putting in A, like kids going to camp. This goes with this.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he went back east, came back and took me out to the fanciest dinner this 20-something had ever been to. I guess I was 30 at the time. And he said, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And I said, really? What would you have paid for that service? And he said, I don't know, $50 an hour. I said, thank you. And I just simply became an image consultant. So again, it seemed like because I was good at it, my mother was an interior designer and an artist, and she was always pointing out design elements. Girls, someone designed that Cheerio box. But she would tune us up to noticing things, balance and color. So I have it innately and inherently, and I was taught my whole life. So I just became an image consultant, but it was never about the clothes, Cynthia. It was always about, you talked about confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I have a workbook that helps people get prepared for doing image consulting with me, and I call it Clothing, Confidence, and Charisma. And yes, I'm totally stuck on alliteration, as I know you are too. I love passion and purpose. I noticed. But, clothing, confidence, and charisma. And what I know is that even if I tell a woman who's maybe PMS or not feeling so great, I said, wear that blue sweater that matches your eyes, that you always get complimented on, even if you still feel kind of fat. But if you go to that party tonight, you get 10 compliments about your beautiful eyes, you might have a chance to feel better about yourself. Or don't, and you still might not feel better about yourself, but you have a better chance if people say, oh, you look great, you look great, you look great, you look great, than if you didn't take the time to do that, or you're wearing a color that doesn't work so well. You wouldn't want to see butter yellow on me. No. I can wear gold because I'm so olive toned and green eyes. But it was the funniest part. It is St. Patrick's Day. I'm just going to tell you. That's when we're recording. I'm so not Irish, but I have a ton of green in my life. I'm wearing all green today. See, but and it's because I have green eyes. They're mostly green. Because it's like a well-framed photograph or a well-framed painting. You don't want the frame to be noticed, right, Cynthia? You want the picture to look fabulous. If the Mona Lisa had a frame around it that was all bright purple polka dots, you wouldn't be noticing those eyes that follow you everywhere. You'd be like, where do I look? So the whole idea is to be so well-framed or to have your confidence. It will just boost your confidence because I've dressed people for the White House. I've dressed people for everything. And when the guy dressed a guy for the White House, he was like, what do you mean I said, you're going to deliver something to President Clinton in the White House. We need to take you shopping right now. And he was wealthy. And I said, you need a new costume for this period. He came back and he was like, oh my God, I had no idea what it was going to feel like standing in the Oval Office between Bill and Hillary and C-SPAN and CNN. He said, I was terrified, but at least I knew my costume was right. Meaning nobody had to know he was shaking in his $500 shoes.
Right,
And
exactly.
his $3,500 Brioni hand-tailored suit. Meaning it's all appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, and it's more that gave him the confidence. Other people, you know, you see a Robert Redford who just is already confident. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. He's not going to be wearing brand new shiny things. He's going to be wearing, and you can picture it, he's going to be wearing a kicked back leather jacket, jeans, boots, the Robert Redford look.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's his look, and he's not proving anything. He's not nouveau anything. He's just confident in who he is. Do I know him? No, but I think you get the inference.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, you ask me, so what I do now, and I do roll but it, you know, I've had the privilege, not only, and in the bio, it does talk about my academic education because I've always been a teacher, but I've had the privilege when I moved out West, and, you know, it was the 80s, I was in San Francisco, and there was the personal development movement really taking hold. And I did a personal development training back in 1983 through some people I'd gone to the University of Vermont with. They just said, come do this thing. Okay. I was in my 20s. It sounded like a cool thing to do. And that opened my eyes and ears to what I didn't know that I didn't know. And so from that position, I was then able to move forward to being able to always be open to taking classes. And so I was always learning what I didn't know, and just building a huge arsenal of information that was just so helpful. And then one day back in the early 90s, I was in my mid 30s, I was still single, and a guy friend of mine through a business thing said, will you be my +1 to this event tonight? I'm like, well, what is it? What's this intimacy thing? Don't worry, it's clothes on, but I can't go unless you come. I'm like, okay. And I found myself talking about something called Tantra, intimacy. And I found myself looking in the eyes of 12 different men that I'd never met before in my life. And by the third or fourth one, we're like, namaste. And there were some, you know, rituals we were told, not too woo, but just like really intimate, like really close, like way closer than handshakes. Right? And I became unglued, Cynthia. Oh my God. I was unglued with the combination of joy and grief.
Oh my.
The joy at the intimacy that might be possible for me, and I didn't really understand till then, and the grief at what intimacy I hadn't had, even though I'd always had a very healthy relationship with sexuality, and gratefully no Me Too story. You know, I just was so healthy that way, but we turn off the lights and do our thing, you know, which was very different than, you know, really looking in people's eyes. And I made a decision in that moment that this is my field of study, that I think people need to know this, that none of us, even though I had really good parenting, my parents were awesome and loved each other. You know, I didn't come from a dysfunctional family, no alcohol. It was like, wow, they didn't exhibit that kind of intimacy, of stopping and just being. It was all do, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, so I just started studying everything I could about intimacy and sexuality and communication. So that's
great.
what I teach now. Yeah.
So I love this concept of like dressing confidently. You know, that's something that I feel like, is it just me? I'm going to say something here. Is it just me, or is it like almost like embarrassing when you see somebody out in public wearing pajamas and slippers and stuff like that? Like that, I don't know, that just drives me crazy.
Okay, well, here's how I'm going to answer it. It's all
Okay.
about appropriateness. If they're an absolutely gorgeous, ingenue, 21-year-old singer-songwriter, it's probably okay.
Okay.
As long as it's not too sexy and too inappropriate.
Yeah, all
in
right.
that way. Meaning it might be okay. I'm laughing because I'm literally thinking about my adopted goddaughter who is a singer-songwriter. She and her guy took the train from San Francisco to Seattle, and she bought a pair of $200 freaking flannel pajamas that were so beautiful. They were pink and orange and hilarious, and she wore a big puffy white Russian style hat and big boots, and that's how and cowboy boots, I mean. And she got on the train that way with her guitar and serenaded people. So That's exactly why I answered that way. Now,
Hmm.
when I see somebody, with the curlers and the whatever, you have no idea how much I cringe, and it's for way less than pajamas in public. I
Yeah.
cringe because I moved from San Francisco to San Diego. Let's just
Uh-huh.
say San Diego's not exactly a style town. It's a flip-flop town. Thank
Mhm.
goodness I don't count on image consulting for a living. It would be a joke here because people don't dress. I don't dress. I mean, I
Mhm.
haven't worn a sport jacket, a suit jacket, or a dress I just don't.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, yeah, and I would say different cities are obviously more formal. Like you go out
yeah.
east and everybody wears black and they're very formal, and that was something I noticed when I was traveling out east. But here in
You have to
Sedona,
get it right. It's back east and out west, by the way,
yes, out west here in
and
Sedona
back
land.
east.
Yeah, back east.
Clearly, you're from the west.
Yeah, so we're very casual here in the West. And you
It's
can
very
wear,
different.
yeah, you can wear jeans or whatever to, even to a nice restaurant, and they
Right.
very rarely require a tie, but
But I mean, there was no such thing until maybe 15 years ago, 12 years ago. There was no such thing as a pair of dress jeans. It didn't exist.
mhm.
There were chinos was the least dressy things that you could sort of dress up. And chinos are like, or dockers, no, for me. But they were necessary because they were the only thing between suit pants or slacks and jeans.
Mhm.
But there were no such thing as fancy jeans. So
Yeah.
that was maybe 15 years ago they started being a thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, then even back east, like someplace like New York, the financial district is very different. I mean, I just have a client and I do these 4 to 6 month coaching programs helping. I mostly work with couples or people divorced starting over. So it's usually people over 45.
Mhm.
Figure I can handle this. I've earned that one. So I work with, like this one guy. I mean, he's had 3 marriages and 3 divorces, and he was a former alcoholic. I mean, he just doesn't drink now, but he's a whole new world. He was going off to a conference, and it was his first CEO space, if you've heard of that. And he was going off to this conference, and he said he was going to go buy 5 suits. And I went, what? You don't need 5 suits? Really? He said, no. As a matter of fact, he needed not 5 suits. He already owned 2 suits, which was probably one too many these days to even bother with suits.
Mhm.
So fast forward, we went and got him a couple sport jackets and sweaters, and he'd never done any of that before in his life. Black jeans, blue
Mm.
jeans, how to mix it up. First time in his life he'd ever been told he looked sharp, ever.
Mm.
He'd also been in a Navy uniform for 2 decades. So,
Yeah.
but that was powerful for him to be
Mhm.
told he looked sharp. But one of the reasons he looked sharp was he didn't look like he was trying to sell insurance at a casual entrepreneurs convention.
Mhm.
You want to be appropriately dressed.
Right.
So, the pajama conversation, if they're just taking out their garbage and it's their
Yeah.
own driveway, that's probably okay. But
Right.
to go to the grocery store, that's a little weird. And the grocery
Yeah.
stores now are weird anyway. But
I agree. But yeah,
this,
the first time I saw that, I was just like, oh my gosh, they didn't put any clothes on. They're
well,
out in public.
we could say that about the way how some people, especially if they're holding a lot of extra weight and they're wearing really short dresses, I just want to go say, here, honey, put these on. Give them a pair of leggings or something, because I don't think people have any idea where some of the young people wearing such sexy clothing. And while no, I don't think that should be the reason they end up getting harassed, but in this culture, it works all the different ways. So, it's like,
Mhm.
I do believe that first freaking impression is just that, you don't get to change it.
Yeah.
So if these young people knew the signals they were giving off, they might make a different choice.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people just aren't very conscious about it. They just wear what they've always been wearing, and that's what they wear.
And
Yeah.
nobody either in their immediate circles is either, or nobody's been kind enough to say, kind of like if you and I were hanging out and we've met, I know you a little bit, but we would immediately, or if you and I were chatting before and I had like kale between my teeth, you'd go, Karen, this is going to be like a video. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I've learned to go look at my own teeth. That's what selfies are for, right? Quick. You don't have to take it, but look at your phone. You can just see if, but those kinds of things, it's polite to tell somebody your flies down, you've got green stuff in your teeth, right? It's just kind.
It is kind because you would want to know. So,
Hello. It's a
yeah.
real do unto, it's the golden rule. Hello.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about how you help people with their intimacy. I kind of love this idea of just staring into people's eyes. There is something to that, isn't there?
It's truly unbelievable how important it is. And it's funny because I had a woman client recently, and she had had a pretty horrific surprise that her husband had had an indiscretion, like really horrible. And she literally flew out west from New York, just left to be, after 35 years. She was so stunning. And so she came to me through a referral because I do intimacy training. And I was like, I'm wondering if, a woman coming to me, because mostly men will come. I tend to work with more single men for that, women for helping them get over their divorce and start over. But this woman came to me. I didn't know, because it was a referral. This beautiful woman walked in the door, heterosexual woman, I'll add. She came in the door and she said, I just want to know what Tantra is. And I saw that bio you had on that site. What is it? Talk to me. So we talked a lot about her situation, where she was at. And then I sat on the couch with her, fully clothed, just like this.
Yeah.
And we sat, a little closer than handshake. And I said, with your permission, could I put my hand on your heart? She said, sure. So I put my hand on her heart and she put her hand over mine. And then I had her put her hand on my heart and I put my hand over hers. And that's close. Think about it. That's, like right here.
Sure.
And we bead together. We just were together for maybe 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. Her eyes teared up. She's a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 5. And while we do that with babies, we just stare and they just stare. Something happens as time goes on. Our culture isn't about intimacy like that.
Yeah.
If you notice when people shake hands, they don't always look in each other's eyes, like a little kid. Or cheers.
That's true.
It's like, hey, I'm cheering you. I don't want to clink glasses. I want to look in your eye. Who cares about the drink?
Right.
Speaking of.
Yeah. And I read handshake too. So that's part of palm reading is, how genuine is that handshake,
Right.
and how tight is the handshake, if they're giving you the dead fish, like
you just said something super important. So let me talk a little bit about intimacy. So I have a meetup group. I call it's Relationship Real Talk. It's basically, let's have real talk. And one of them I called, it's all about the touch, your key to way better sex. And then I talk about it in the thing, look, it's happened. I do it in in this room at my office. And I said, look, it's a close on one, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's not about sex. It's about, I say, it's all about the touch. And I say to somebody, do you really want someone to touch you while they're, like your intimate partner to touch you while they're using the remote control? They're going to be touching you absent-mindedly, like they pat their dog.
Yeah. No,
And even the
that
dog doesn't want to be touched. No, because
Yeah.
it's like absent-minded is when we lose our keys. Why? Because we weren't present. Right? Where are my keys? Where are my keys? Well, mine go on a nail because I know better. If it doesn't go right on a hook, if it doesn't go there, where are my keys? And I know that I have to at all times pay attention to certain things. Where's my phone? That kind of thing.
Right.
I don't want to lose stuff. Now that said, I want whoever's touching me, whether that handshake you just said, dead fish, is because they're really not paying attention. They're just like sticking their hand out. But if they're in that hand, nor is the one that goes crunch.
Oh yeah, the bone crush. That's like, I want to dominate you.
And it's like awful. And I'm like, I'm scared of them. I don't care if it's a woman, a man, a child. It's like, I don't like your energy.
No,
so I've taught many a 6th grader and many a teenage kid when they do the either way. Like they'll go this and I'll go, wait a minute, I want to shake hands with you. And I couldn't even feel you in your hand. Can I have you in your hand now? And they get there. And then, of course, the boys will go, and some of those kids are strong. And I'll go, ow, wait. There's something in the middle. Let's go and do this again.
Yes.
There. And I said, let me see your eyes. Thank you. Might be goofy to you, but it really means a lot to me. You know what? Go try it on your parents. They'll like it.
Yes.
Because it's all about paying attention. And if you don't know something, look, pay attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And the intimacy training, it's paying attention and it's communication. Like today, I mean, this is a real strange time, and we're going to, in a long haul for this pandemic that's going on. I'm just going to mention it because though this is an evergreen, people can listen to this, it's still a really big deal. And what I'm noticing, and because I do all my business on the phone, my coaching clients are paying their bills and getting on the phone with me on Zoom calls. And I had a guy this morning, I'm helping with business stuff, leading a more corporate client that he's doing to more entrepreneurial stuff. But we talked all about the fact that he's got 2 little kids full-time, 5-year-old twins at home full-time, and his wife goes to work, and what it's like and how he can take care of himself. But what I suggested to them, because his wife in here is so stressed, and they're a really good couple. I said, look, I'm not your relationship coach, but since that's what I mostly do, I'm going to put that hat on. What I suggested to him, I said, could you tell me 10 wonderful things about your wife right now? And he went, oh my God. They have a great relationship, but they're forgetting that right now. Forgetting to reimburse, to put the quarters in the good meter every day. It's the stuff that we do at the beginning of a relationship, Cynthia.
Yeah.
But then we then forget. You know, it's like, well, why do you need flowers? You can go buy them yourself. My ex used to say, I'm not going to get you flowers. You're too good at flowers, because I'm a designer. My sister does it for a living. You know, my mother was a designer. And I said to him, yeah, but you're my guy and I want you to bring me flowers.
Right.
I said, I know. You know the flower store in town? Nancy's flower store? Go tell Nancy they're for me. She knows what I like. Oh my God, he was my hero. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to make the cake to bring them the cake they like. You just
That's right.
remember to bring the cake they like, or find out, what do you like?
Right.
So
Take
it's
the time.
all about paying attention. So, and it's all about appreciating each other. So what I do whenever I work with a couple, because I work with a lot of couples, the first thing I do, and I'll tell you a quick story about a couple who came, she had been to one of my women's workshops called Men, Sex, and Money, speaking of alliteration. And she had done that, and she said, you know, I really need to break up with my boyfriend. It's not working. Would you help us do it amicably so I can still be in his young teenagers' lives? And I said, sure, if he'll agree, good luck with that. But he did. He agreed to 3 sessions with me. And so I remember they came to my home because it was in the evening, and I have a really big couch with 4 sections. I was in a chair. She was in one section, empty section. He was in the next section. They were leaning out, Cynthia. And I took one look at them and I was like, oh boy, I knew very little about him just from her. So I didn't know. It always takes 2, right?
Yes, of course.
So I went over to her and I put my phone on 3 minutes, the timer. And I said, okay, I'm going to ask you the same question for 3 solid minutes. And I want you to answer the first thing that comes up. And I had him, I said, you just get to watch. I said, they'd been together 4 years. I said, tell me something you appreciate about him. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you. Tell me something you appreciate about him. Blah, 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 blah. For 3 solid minutes. It probably was 12 or 15 questions, you figure, right? I can tell you, when I switched to do the exact same thing with him about her, there were tears coming down his face. Did you hear me? 3 minutes. Tears, the guy.
Wow.
So now I do it with him. Now they're both crying. 3 minutes, like the woman, 2 minutes changed her life sitting with me. Oh my God, I don't think I've ever sat with my husband in 35 years like we just sat. And she's really cool.
Wow.
She's not like a distorted, weird, you know, drinking. She's a really awake person, but it's not what we do. So I did 2 rounds of 3 each. And then I said, okay, here's the next round. Again, I kept doing the timer. So it was even, and so that it was boundaried. So they knew what to expect. And I wouldn't let any of, I said, everything at me, please. No, you don't get to look at him to do this, and you get to just watch, mister. So I said, tell me something you need him to hear. I don't like it when you blah, blah, blah. And then I said, do you have a specific time he blah, blah, blah? Like, I don't like the way you eat is not helpful. But if I don't like the way you talk with your mouth full, like you did last night when my parents were at dinner, is really specific. You see the difference?
It is. Yes.
Rather than, I don't like the way you eat.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
You always are sloppy. There's nothing you can, doesn't help at all. It doesn't. No. And I think of it like a really big thing of balloons, like at Disneyland. You're in the electric parade and you go, oh my God, look kids, we got this great seat for the electric parade. Oh shoot, the balloon guy's in front of us. No wonder the seat was available. And you've got this massive thing of balloons in front of you. Well, I like to think of all the things that we don't say between us and intimates are like a gigantic thing of balloons in the way, or the elephant in the living room. And how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. So if 1 bite at a time, I could say, tell me something you need him to hear. Well, last night, I didn't like the way you blah, blah, blah. And I just say, thank you. The other day, when you, thank you. You know, when we do this, blah, 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 thank you. And boom, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, you know, the whole exercise was about 35, 40 minutes back and forth for the
Mm-hmm.
positives and the negatives. They were both in tears. They got married about a year ago. I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, that's so
They
sweet.
hired me to break them up. And I'm not
Yeah.
a therapist. I have a big,
Mm-hmm.
I joke about it, but my bachelor's is in education and social services. But
Yeah.
I took 9 graduate level counseling courses, which is great, as an
Mm-hmm.
undergrad. But so, I mean, I've done therapy. I know stuff, but I'm certainly not a therapist. I'm an
Yeah.
educator. Because as we
Mm.
go back to the beginning, I teach what I think is helpful for other people, like you do with your palmistry and other
Right.
things that you teach. It's like, look, would you like to know how to do this? I'll show you a hack. Best way to cut a
Mm-hmm.
lemon. Best way to whatever.
Yeah,
We learn what
exactly.
we learn, so might
Mm-hmm.
as well pass it on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's such a great story because yeah, sometimes people just don't realize that hey, you really are compatible and you just forget
You
sometimes.
forgot.
Yeah.
And so this guy I was talking to today is going to have his wife and kids are all going to do appreciations at dinner. I said, you don't have to use the exact script. I said, what's powerful about the script is all the person listening, receiving gets to say is thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to negate it. They don't get to explain it. They don't get
Right.
to go, aw. They just
Uh-huh.
get to say thank you. And think
Mm.
about how many times we as women, and I'm going to say we, because I'm assuming you've done this before in your life, somebody gives you a compliment, you go, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's nothing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's only $10. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
say thank you.
Right. They're
And
not
I'm a,
receiving. Yeah. They need to learn how to receive.
I am a big consignment store shopper, and I will take people consignment store shopping because they can get, the $1,200 whatever's boots
Mm-hmm.
or whatever for $100. I mean, it's
Right.
just, there's no reason you have to spend it to look it, especially if with someone like me. With
Mm-hmm.
pay for me for my eye, and you'll save a
Mm-hmm.
ton of money.
Yeah.
That said, it just all works.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all that great wisdom. I think everybody can benefit from some of the practices that you've taught us today. So that's amazing. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about your book.
My little book. So, I said I worked with couples. Here's the thing. My former husband and I gave it our all, and we realized we were done being husband and wife and romantic and intimate partners. We just were done. But we gave it our all, the therapy and the classes. And when I relocated after being in the Bay Area for 3 decades and relocated to San Diego, I thought, I'll just start a new life. Hardest thing I've ever done. And what I was doing was meeting a lot of people who were dating and single, and they're also in their 50s and 60s. All of us were like now with a pandemic, single, whoa, it's an intense time. And so I wrote this little book because I had the privilege of working with so many teachers, and I had so many resources of how to complete the past, of how to, there's tips there's tips on for wardrobe in here. There's my completion processes in here, my how to ask somebody for what you want without making them feel wrong. Like, I love the way you're touching me, but would you please do it a little softer? Thank you. Instead of, ew, I hate your nails. And then he goes and watches the game and you're wondering why.
Right. So
It's like all of that's in here. Just
yes.
some of
So
their hacks.
for those of you not watching the video, the book is called Sexy, Sassy, and Starting Over. And where can people find that?
Well, I think you can go on Amazon, Sexy, Sassy, and Starting Over. And I will put a link. You want to know where they can find me as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, you can go to KarenSolomon.com, and I like to say it's the regular way of spelling Karen, Karen. And the last name is S and Sam, Solomon.com, KarenSolomon.com. And you will then have your choice of a couple of really delicious freebies, if you will. And one of them, if you're a couple, it'll help you juice up your intimacy. And the other choice, you can always get both too. The other one's for a more fulfilling dating experience. And that'll get you into my mailing list, and you can always find a time to talk to me. So the link to the book, again, if you go to Amazon, that's the best way to get the book. And it's on Kindle and it's paperback. So that's the best way for that. But I'm going to put the link on that landing page as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really fun interview. You're so sassy yourself. And I love your green. It's so lovely. I actually forgot to wear green today and I just wore red.
Mine was accidental, but it's not orange. So you're not going to offend anyone from what I hear.
No, that's true. So remember, everyone, to live life with love, passion, and purpose. And we look forward to connecting with you again very soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Love in Your Hands. Please rate, review, and subscribe to show your support. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find and keep long-lasting love. Start your free Soulmate Connection membership today using the most innovative and accurate algorithm to match you to potential partners, all at loveinyourhands.com.